You see, today I was at an economic forum. The greatest real estate minds in all of Rochester, the most inquisitive mortgage lenders, and the best economic predictors we have seen. Everyone conversed, everyone had ideas, and ultimately we came to one specific verdict. We have no idea what's going on with the real estate market. So let's talk about why that's the case. All throughout the country, we've seen inventory levels absolutely skyrocket. Here in Rochester, that's just not the case. You see, in most major markets, homes are actually sitting for a longer duration of time. But in Rochester, they're still selling at an exceptionally high rate. So today, let's talk about why Rochester is a different real estate market compared to any other location across the country. Why 50% of the money that you put into the property goes to taxes. Ew. And ultimately what it means for the affordability aspect of it and your ability to purchase properties here in the Rochester real estate market. And when we look at the data, one of the biggest components that we see is months supply is absolutely dwindling. You see from the graph here on the screen, I'll put it right around here, one of the biggest things, especially in the trajectory, is it's downward, meaning the homes that were supposed to stay on the market aren't really staying for much longer. You see, if we added no other properties on the active market, this graph, this dwindling graph, is the amount of time we would have until every home on the multiple listing service was bought out. Whoa. And adding to this, one of the biggest things that we got to see is this other piece of graph that I'm going to put right here. And what does this other piece of graph actually say? It shows you the numbers from the perspective of a home that was costing $0 to $99,000, $100,000 to $200,000, $200,000 to $300,000. Look at the shift in the actual imagery and the colors. In 2019, how many homes do we have around the $199,000 to $200,000 price range? And now in 2024, look at where we're currently at. Exactly. We've got no homes on the market, and the homes on the market as it is have gotten more and more expensive, meaning that anyone that buys these expensive homes, well, they're gonna have to pay a pretty premium, and it's also gonna drive up the appreciation on the rest of the neighborhood. Want to buy in the neighborhood, then have to pay more money too. And then adding to this with this other graph right here, I know my graphs are pretty cool, what we're seeing is a historic low level in actively new listings. You see, from 2022, the month of December had 566. In 2024, 553. Overall, in 2022, we had over 15,800 new listings. In 2024, 14,773. Now, why is this the case in my personal opinion? Very, very simply this. Would you get out of an interest rate if it was 2 to 3%? If it meant that you'd have to buy a property for 6 to 7? No, you wouldn't, especially if you didn't have to sell. And that's the problem. And the other problem, the other catch-22, is baby boomers don't want to sell, and first-time home buyers don't want to sell either. Why? Well, when you're retired and you have a big house and you're trying to downsize, but there's no homes in the market, where are you going to downsize to? If you want to sell your house, which was at a 3% interest rate, and now you want to get a bigger house, but there's no houses on the market, where are you going to move to? We are in a position of just continuous alignment where there's no actual movement that's happening, and the only people that are hurting are the people that actually want to purchase properties in today's day and age. And again, it's not me saying this. Look at this graph right here. What do you see? You see a trend line of homes for sale in December absolutely coming down. We had more active inventory in the past decade than we do now. And this is a problem that's going to stick around for a very, very long time, because nationally, we're still in a period of high inflation. You see, because of the amount of money that Biden gave away during the COVID season, and because of so many other things that are happening with the interest rates that were 2 to 3% for such a long period of time, we've driven up the GDP to complete madness. There's so much noise that's happening. And now, especially with the AI revolution, especially with all the other noises that are happening surrounding that, what we're seeing is, number one, a level of uncertainty that we've never seen before. And number two, we're also seeing higher levels of inflation that we've never seen before. You see, I was talking to a buddy of mine that lives in Carlsbad, California. And what he said is this: Gagan, I currently pay $5,000 to rent my house. It's a 5-minute walk from the beach. If I were to buy this exact same house today, it would cost me $12,000 for the mortgage. $12,000. Because if you look at the rental trajectories compared to 2021 and 2022, I'm gonna try to have it here if I can find it. In 2021, it would cost the same amount to rent a home. In 2024, you're paying so much more money. And that is a massive, massive problem. So it makes sense that people that, number one, want to buy properties are paying more money due to the higher interest rates and the higher taxations. And people that don't want to buy, well, really are thinking, if I'm going to be paying this much more, should I? And the other disgusting thing that you're going to see, I'm going to put it right here, is people that come to New York pay 50% of their hard-earned money to taxes and insurance. Whoa. So what does this even mean, right? Like, combining all of this, I think you know where I land pretty simply. What am I trying to say? Well, the greatest minds in Rochester, the greatest minds in the Economic Forum came to one very certain conclusion. And it was this: no one knows. And I'm sorry if that's not the answer you wanted, and I'm sorry if you're gonna click off the video, but let me tell you what I mean by no one knows. You see, because of the ideas of tariffs, and because of the ideas of, well, let me give you an example. What happened literally yesterday? You see, China released their own AI model, DeepSeek. It competed with the AI model of OpenAI, and everything dwindled and diminished by almost $500 billion in market value in the USA. Stuff like that is happening. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and these economic forecasts, they're not certain either. One of my buddies texted me, and I'll put the screenshot here. He said, those shits are never right. I was like, yeah, yeah, especially now. And you know, the caveat of all of this is very, very simply this. The economy has never positioned me to purchase or sell. The economy has never gotten in my way or assisted for the long term of my decision to buy or sell a house, ever. Here's what I mean. We bought a house in 2017. Interest rates were around I think ours is 5.3%, I gotta check. We were gonna buy a house, regardless of if it was 7%, regardless of if it was 3%. And I say this because we got sick and tired of renting. Our apartments had mold, asbestos, and it had rats. It was time. And one of my buddies, he was moving to California, he told me this, he said, Kagan, listen, it was one of the worst summer heats in Arizona history. My wife looked at me and said, if we're gonna go, we're going now. They got a house in 45 days in Cali. So the reason I bring this up is because we always have events that are happening. Death, diapers, diplomas, what's the other one? Degrees, I forgot, there's a bunch of them. You know what's happening, right? Like, if something is happening in your life, you're going to make a decision. And I think if we just cut out all this bullshit and cut out all this noise, we can come to two very fundamental pieces of notions. And number one is this. If you're looking to purchase a property, how do you ensure that you're paying the least amount of money for that property? And number two is this. If you're looking to sell a property, how do you ensure that you maximize the most amount of profits for that property? That's it. And everything else can sort of just circulate and circumvent off these two conversational pieces, because let's take into account everything that we have to do. Let's take the numbers and let's see specifically what's happening. Rochester, the reason that I bring this up is because, again, number one, I live in Rochester, and number two, our conversational pieces that surround Rochester are so much more different than any other pieces in the entire great states of America. Great states, I think. That's what I'm trying to say, yeah. Rochester and Syracuse have the worst taxations, but most other places, their homes are sitting on the market for a longer period of time. That's not happening here. Make sure that you have all these things in consideration, because if you want a house, we will get you a house, I promise you. The question just becomes when, and how badly do you want it? And if you want to sell your house, we will sell your house. The question, how badly and how quickly? take all these into consideration. If you have any questions, put in the comment sections down below. Listen, I know this isn't usually the usual types of videos that I want to make, but I want to educate people. I don't want to have people, I don't know, come into Rochester and lack the education. It's imperative that we understand what's happening from every single perspective. It can't just be the good perspective, it also has to be the bad. I hope you kind of appreciate these kind of videos. Leave it in the comments below. I'm really, really curious about your opinion on what you think is going on with the market. I'm curious how you think this is going to change everything, or if this isn't going to change anything at all. And listen, I actually did an entire video on everything new that's coming to Rochester. Put it right here, watch it, and I'll see you soon. Bye.